Good morning and welcome to Get Enlightened with me, Lauren Scott. I'm so excited to have y'all here, and I am so excited to have my friend Bart from the Dominican Treehouse Village with us today. Welcome, Bart.
Hey. I can't wait. I get to hang out with a superstar this morning.
Oh, please. You're the superstar, man. You're the superstar.
Yeah, right. You're right. I'm in great
well,
company right now.
well, I'm super excited because we met in a really cool way. I was coming to do a give back to like dental mission trip, and it was at your treehouse village. So we hit it off immediately and worked together for what, like four years together,
Yeah,
kind of on the board
sounds
and
right. Yep.
doing things. And so I wanted to bring you on here because your story is amazing. So let's kind of start on how you started the treehouse village, like how it even came about. Let's go there.
Well, yeah. Well, I'll even go back a little bit further. I come from a really conservative Mormon family, and as I was growing up, on we couldn't watch TV because people didn't want us to be worldly, right?
Yeah.
So to get back to God and the celestial kingdom, we had to act a certain way, and so my parents were very stringent and took it very seriously. So they basically prohibited us from watching any TV, and they had it set up where we could just watch Disney movies like once a week. So we'd watch shows like The Invisible Man or Chitty Chitty Bang Bang or The Sound of Music or stuff like that.
Yeah.
And one of them that I was enthralled with, that I just absolutely adored and loved, was a movie called Swiss Family Robinson. And the whole story behind that is it was a Dutch family that was sailing and they got shipwrecked. They had some rocks and basically got stuck on an island. And what they did is they got all their stuff on shore and they started building tree houses to live in.
Yeah.
And they ended up fighting pirates and all that stuff. So that was my basis of my whole life. And this isn't a movie that I watched once. This is what I was vigorously watching as much as that I could when I could. Mm-hmm. And the story never got old. And so as I started traveling around the world, I started seeing what I really, really wanted to have in my life and what was important to me. And I was staying with a girlfriend at the time in like a tree hut that had nothing there except for some tin roof and a bed. And I was supposed to stay there for one night. And I loved it. It was so romantic and sexy and sensual and connective, right? You're literally connecting into nature. And I walked away from that and I was like, oh my goodness, I could see myself doing this and having this for my life. And so I went home and I started drawing concepts and started investigating. And I saw on Google that it was, the how often tree houses was Googled was astronomical. And so I had the thought in mind. And so I got with some artists and we started drawing out all my visions and designs. And I was a big fan of Survivor, right? Mm-hmm. So we were able to look at some of their sets and whatnot. And so anyways, I basically designed the Treehouse Village. And I had that in my mind. And I believe in the law of visualization and affirmations.
Yes,
so I basically,
baby.
Yeah. So I affirmed it into reality. It became into existence. And what had happened is my family went on a cruise ship to the Dominican Republic, and my brother had come home, and he's like, man, there's a place for you in the world, and it's not in Costa Rica. It's in the Dominican Republic. I'm like, nah.
Wow.
I've done the Dominican Republic. I did it on a motorcycle. It's a cool place, but I'm not interested. And he's like, but did you go to Samana? I said, no, I didn't go to Samana, but I know it. I know everything about the country, and I can surf and scuba dive every day in this place called Puerto Viejo in Costa Rica. And my brother's like, no, man, this place is literally calling your name. I'm like, dude, I'm not interested. He said, listen, if you don't do anything else for me in your whole life, you just got to fly out there and check it out. That's all I'm asking. Mm-hmm. I said, all right, like if you're so impassioned about it, I'll fly out there. So 2 weeks later, I hit the tarmac in the Dominican Republic, took a bus to Samana. I was wearing my flip-flops, board shorts, tank top, North Face backpack, and a bill hat, flat tucking in my ears, looking like a total gringo from Idaho, right? And I descended into a city of Samana where it's everybody was from African roots, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm the whitest white dude in the whole world. And you can visualize it. You know me, so you can see it because nothing's really changed.
Yeah, I was
But
gonna say it's still the
yeah,
same.
yeah.
Ex- So
So I go ahead.
no, no, go ahead. I'm listening to you.
Yeah, yeah. So anyways, I didn't know one person, and my brother's like, hey, I met this guy named Terry, and it was called Tours with Terry. Maybe you should talk to him. So
Mm-hmm.
imagine showing up at a place where you literally know no one. You literally are the only, Anglo-Saxon Protestant white dude, and
Were
the
you
city.
Were you fluent in Spanish at the time?
Yeah, yeah. But I spoke with a Castilian accent. So,
Yeah,
felicidades, ¿qué haces? La gente así puro con el acento de España.
yeah.
So I didn't speak an Ebonic Spanish. I spoke more of like if I was an elitist, a pure Castilian Spanish from Spain.
Yeah.
So when I spoke, people kind of looked at me kind of funny and with my accent, and then me being a gringo, they're like, "What the freak is going on with this?" And so I didn't know anybody, and
That takes
little by
guts, Bart. That takes a lot of
yeah,
guts.
it was crazy, and I had built up a great little small business in Boise where my brother and I started a commercial cleaning business, and we generated tens of millions of dollars cleaning poopy toilets.
I know
And so,
you sold out of that business, right?
yeah,
Isn't that kind of how you
what
like?
happens? My brother took the cleaning business, and I ended up taking the businesses down in the Dominican Republic. He's like, I'm never going to come down there, just vacation, hang out with you. And I'm like, I'm never going back to Idaho. I like my life, but not getting too far ahead with it. I didn't know anybody, and so my older brother said, "Listen, if you want to kill it, you got to start a zip line."
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know anything about zip lines, so I got down there, didn't know anybody. In a very short amount of time, I have a disease. It's I'm too talkative, so I just talk to everybody. And
That's why we got along so well.
yeah, exactly. So I didn't know anybody, and in a very short period of time, I had a bunch of friends and people that were helping me look for land, and I found this amazing guy. His name was Tomas from Argentina,
Yeah.
and basically he had all this land, and I was more of a conservative businessman that would wear suits and ties, and a certain way more of an American style to do business. And this Jehovah Witness actually was the one that made the cross reference for us. And he's like, yeah, you got to go meet this Tomas. He owns all this land. He's the future. And he said,
Mm-hmm.
and I know that you're going to change Samana because of your energy. So I said, I don't know. And he's like, no, dude, you have to. He summons. He used this word because he was Latin. He's like, he summons you to his office. I'm like,
Oh.
wow, he sounds really important. So
No kidding.
I show up at this office, and I go upstairs, all nervous because my future was held on land and everything, all these dreams and aspirations. And I go in and I meet this Tomas, and he either had a cigarette or a joint hanging out of his mouth, and his smoke was all in the air, and he's like, hey bro. And in my mind, I had envisioned an old 65, 70-year-old Argentine with a big beer belly, like the
Yeah.
last years of his life because of how much land that this Tomas guy was supposed to have had. So I go in there, and here he had like a joint hanging out of his mouth. He's like, hey, bro, what's up? And he spoke good English. I'm like, hey, how are you? And he's like, hey, man, everybody's talking about this freaking gringo loco wanting to do some stuff here. Like, what's going on, bro? And my mind's like, wow. I'm like, hey, what's up, dog? And so we just start hitting it off. He's like, you got any like ideas or plans with this? And I had my drawings, and it had a zip line in there. And Tomas is like, wow, this is sick. Yeah, dude, like this is what I want to do. And so he's like, you just find the land and I'll get it for you. And we'll partner up. And so that was my beginning with Tomas. And I went around and I found this guy, Terry, from
Hmm.
Michigan, I think it was. And he was another Jehovah Witness. And they took me around and just showed me some areas. And so I started bird dogging all over. And I found the perfect place, a treehouse village next to a waterfall and in the tropical rainforest.
Mm.
And
It is. It is incredible. It is one of the most
thank you.
incredible magical places I've ever been. I'm so excited to get back this summer.
Thank you. Yeah. So I walked in there, and at the time it was full of pigs and coffee plantation, and
What?
yeah, it was just nothing.
Oh
And
my gosh.
so we walk in there, and the locals gave me some rubber boots, and so I was walking through the mud. Every step, the mud would come up and out, and mosquitoes were biting me all over the place. and and I said, "This is the place." And everybody's eyes were big, and they're like, "Are you freaking crazy?" I'm like, "No, can you imagine? Like, here could be the," and I just laid it all out, and I marked the cornerstone, or basically where the corner column was of the Eco Lodge, and it
Hmm.
was based all off that. And so all these dreams and crazy thoughts and me had visualizing created this perfect space,
Wow.
and it was phenomenal. And so we grew this. So what I had done is I didn't have enough money to build the treehouse village. So what I did is I built the zip line. Didn't know anybody. Called the Norwegian Cruise Line and said, "Hey, could I speak with the excursion department?" They're like, "Oh, hey, this is Susie from Excursions." I'm like, "Hey, this is Bart Griffin from Boise. How are you, Susie?" "Oh, I'm great. How are you?" I'm like, "Great. What's the best and most popular zip line that you guys sell to in the world?" And she's like, "Who's this?" I'm like, "Bart from Boise. I want to go on the best zip line in the world." And she said, "Oh, hold on one second." She put me on pause, and then she asked the girls in the office, and they said, "Hey, Bart, I was asking the girls, and they said it was Alaskan Mountain Guides in Juneau, Alaska, and his name was Jason." And I said, "Okay." I said, "You wouldn't happen to have a number, would you?" She's like, "Well, if you promise not to say anything about us, I'll give you a cell number." So she gave it. So I called the number and I said, "Hey, Jason, this is Bart from Boise. How are you?" He's like, "Who's this?" I said, "Bart from Boise." "Okay." I said, "I was just talking to Sue and she said you had the best zip line in the whole world." And he's like, "Who's this?" I'm like, "This is Bart from Boise." And I said, "Hey, I want to build a zip line in the Dominican Republic." And Jason's like, "Well, I'm not doing anything there." And I said, "I'll pay you to consult me." He said, "Bro, give me this amount of money and wire it to my account and I'll consult you." So I sent him a big chunk of money, and we had 3 or 4 phone conversations,
Uh-huh.
and that's all I needed. And we created and built the #1 rated excursion in the Dominican Republic. It was called Samana Zip Line. And I would go there, and we built it out, 9 months of getting permits and building. And after 3 years, the number 1 rated excursion in the country. And I took all the money that I made off the first 3 years and rolled it over into build the Treehouse Village. And the rest is history.
It's just the most incredible story. I mean, if you want to talk about manifesting the law of attraction, like knowing what you want, seeing it as a child, it just proves to the point that everybody that you meet along the way, you meet for a reason. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like,
Absolutely.
and those childhood memories, like, this is just the most incredible story.
it's
and
been
what,
it's been it's
and
been a
what,
crazy journey from growing up in a poor family to being, a paper boy, to cutting lawns. I started delivering newspapers at the age of 8, and that's when I got my financial freedom. And then to clean poopy toilets, to now owning hotels and
hotels and doing,
properties and developments and all that stuff. And it's like, it's a dream. But anyone, and so I want everybody to listen very clearly on this, anyone can have their dreams realized. It's
yes.
just go out and read Think and Grow Rich, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, How to Win
Hmm.
Friends and Influence People. Take those 3 books as your holy grail, as your base of all knowledge, and you can have anything you want in this world.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I was actually going to ask you what would be one thing that you would tell young entrepreneurs, but I think you just nailed it.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, and to not stop. As an
Hmm.
entrepreneur myself, you hit roadblocks, you hit things that you have to let go of, but to keep on moving, see the
Yep.
vision, keep going towards it, because if it's really supposed to happen, it will, and it'll happen the
Yeah,
way it's not
yeah.
always the way that we plan it, but it is definitely all it happens if it's supposed to. Like doors will
Right.
start to fly open.
And I would just mention one other little part of this. What I'd recommend to young entrepreneurs is do what you're passionate about, right? Like, so
Yeah.
if you really love football, there's some place, some blog, some newscasting, something that's out there that you can find your niche. If you love sewing,
Yes.
if you love quilting, if you love cleaning poopy toilets, which my brother still is running that business today and lives like a king,
Oh,
believe
I
me.
know. I know. I've met him. I met him
Yeah.
and been to the house. I mean, the whole family has sitting down with your parents. I will never forget sitting down with your dad and you and your brother and y'all all telling me the story of how it began to how it is now. And
Yeah.
just that was what, 7 8 years ago, so it's even grown even more. And
Yeah.
to see your family, your kids growing and doing, because let's tell the world how many kids you have, Bart.
I, Yeah. Well, my parents have 34 grandkids,
Yeah.
and I think it's 4 or 5 great grandkids now.
Wow.
And and I've made 7, and I got 2 or 4 left in the chamber. So my journey making babies is definitely not over. Not only do I like making babies, but I like the babies after making them. So I'm
Yeah,
still on that game.
you do have really cool kids.
Yeah.
They're really cool kids. So,
Can I tell you, and this is just I don't think I told you, but my son's in law school now. He's the youngest person in state history to co-author legislation when he was 17, and he just got elected and sworn in as Nampa City Councilman 2 nights ago. So
oh my
once again,
goodness.
yeah, it's really cool. My other son Matt, he has his tenting business. We're all entrepreneurial, and
Yes.
I was myself and my brother were the first entrepreneurs of the family, and now all of us are entrepreneurs, and we are not going to be slaves to the system. And entrepreneurship is the greatest thing to ever happen to my family, and I've influenced many people to get into their own businesses, and it's true freedom. And I highly recommend any of the listeners out there to get out there and make it happen. And I also, always talk whenever I talk to people and try to inspire them. My phone is always open. My WhatsApp is always open to people that do the first 3 things. So people are like, "Hey, can you mentor me?" Sure, but there's a cost. Oh, yeah, I'm interested in paying. Whoa, wait. It's not for money. There's 3 things that are required. You have to read Rich Dad Poor Dad, Think and Grow
Such
Rich, and How to Win Friends and Influence People. After you do that, my door, my to my house, my phone is open to you with any questions that you have. It's a law of reciprocity. I can give
hmm
you, you give me. It's the karma. I do good things come back to me. And I have had great mentors through my journey of life, and I'd love to give back to those that want help, because we're all in this thing together.
we are, and thankfully I met you, and many moons later we are still rocking and rolling together, and you jumped on here with me, and I am so honored to one call you friend, but also it is very true, Bart. You are such a blessing to talk to, and I know sometimes when I've gone through shit, I've called you and just been like, "Oh my god," and you can talk me through it. You're just one of the best people to talk through. So thank you for being a part of my life. Thank
Thank
you
you.
for bringing this magic to the world, because it truly is magic. You're magical. Love you big time. I'm so proud of your family. I give your son the biggest hug. I met him when God, he was a senior. I think he was a senior, right?
Yeah, could have been.
Junior or senior.
Yep.
So tell him congratulations. We should get him on the show, because that's his story is really cool too, about how he did the
Yeah, we
legislation.
should.
We should get him
Yeah.
on the show for sure. For sure.
Yeah.
Oh, shout out the socials to the Treehouse Village.
Yeah, DominicanTreehouseVillage.com, Dominican Treehouse Village on Instagram. Me personally, let me see. I don't even do it too often, but I am Dominican Jungle Dude. Dominican Jungle Dude's my handle on Instagram. And then Bart Griffin on Facebook. So if any of you want to follow or just shoot me a DM or whatever else, you know what the gatekeeper wants. 3 books, and
Yes.
then you can have some time and attention from me.
There you go. And it's worth it. It is worth it, guys. I promise you. Thank you, Bart, for jumping on here with me.
I loved it. Thanks so
And
much. Great,
thank
great chatting with you.
thanks, hon. And thank you everybody for listening to Get in Line with me and Lauren Scott. We will talk to you later, Bart.
All right. Cheers.
Cheers.